I'm also putting on the captions. All right. Welcome to week 4 of the Framework for Faculty and Student Success course. This week, Simon says, lay the concrete blocks to build a strong foundation for your course materials. This week, we are moving on into the next standard. If you all remember, the first standard was um, about belonging. So we did standard 1.1. We did standard 1.1. And then there were some indicators. I went in and I changed the title of these assignments to indicators. So if you're looking for standard, whatever number plus letter, I've changed them to make it a little bit easier to understand that we're in section 1. We just finished standard 1 because we went through these 6 indicators. And so I hope you all have been uh, getting these done. I know some of the names in here. I'm seeing familiar names for people who have submitted assignments in indicators 1.1A through F. So nice work. I will do a quick shout out to Derek Faust because in the outro page for week 3 last week, um, where we talked about building community, he put his link to the e-portfolio here, and this is exactly how you're supposed to do it, Derek. So I'm gonna give you a like. And if y'all like what Derek did, you can click here and it will open up to his portfolio. And you can see in here that he's got 1.1. Oh, he's also got these ones in here too. 1.1E and 1.1D. Derek putting in work. Thank you, Derek. Good work.
Go, Derek.
Go, Derek. I'm definitely team Derek. Okay, so nice work on that. Everybody remember that if you can get it into your e-portfolio and post it on here, then you can show off what you're working on. And then those ones, like I said here, the top 3 assignments based on number of likes. So right now there's just one and it has the most likes. So I'm going to submit that to Alyssa Sells from the state to see if she can include it on the state's version of the Washington course design checklist course. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on now to week 4. So in week 4, I'll put the link in the chat for everybody to the quiz. As I said, we're starting a new standard now. Oh, yeah, that's fine, Derek. Okay, so we're focusing on course materials now, and you can see here week 4 integrating course materials. Our objective for the week: identify and mitigate biases in your course materials and foster critical thinking through diverse perspectives and approaches. So the Washington checklist portion of this week and next week, if I come back to the module, this module, so relevant and inclusive course materials, and then here are some, so the standard, once again, is the assignment for this week will be kind of taking that, look at yourself, your biases, the way you think about certain things, the biases that exist in your field that you're teaching, and the biases in or the material that you use in your course, checking that to make sure that it has representation. So Uh, you can see positive representation for indicator 1.2a, identifying human bias and acknowledging stereotypes. So more heavy topics to talk about this summer. Um, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So if we look here on the first page, I'll give you all a second to read this. I like this part here. The flawed materials can weaken a building, bias and stereotypes in educational content can undermine student learning and engagement. If we head over here to the next tab for the CPTC connection, um, we've got the critical thinking part of the course-wide learning outcomes. And critical thinking, especially in this day and age, I think is one of the most important things that we can teach to our students, skills that they hopefully have coming into college, but everybody is unique and has their own um, story. And so maybe they didn't get a lot of chances to do critical thinking through throughout their schooling years up until getting to Clover Park. And so that's something that I'm hoping, and especially in this age of AI, I put it here because that's a lot of people are talking about these days, I think is very important. Um, before we go into it, does anybody have an example or anything that they want to share that you do in your class to help with critical thinking? And it can be anything. So it doesn't have to relate to AI, doesn't have to relate to biases and all that kind of stuff. Just what do you do in your courses now so that students get to practice the critical thinking skill?
Well, I can share on that. I'm Tracy, the instructor for the medical laboratory technician program. And one of the things, I mean, it's a healthcare program, and so I try to do, or I guess I try to create a safe space for them to make mistakes in a clinical situation. And I let them make those mistakes because it is a safe place to do it. So, an example is we do blood banking, and so type in blood types and getting blood ready for transfusion, and I let them make mistakes that would kill people in a clinical setting, and
Mhm.
then we can kind of debrief on that and uh, I let them think through how they would do things differently. So that's one example from my program.
Mm. And then do you so they do it the wrong way and they learn that they killed the patient. So sad. The imaginary patient.
Yeah, yeah.
Then is there something like in your messaging that you say like, oh, you did this in this practice scenario, you know, it's
Mhm.
okay, but
Yep.
in the real world, like you need to think more critically about which type of blood to administer?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of let them come to their own conclusions.
Mm,
So I'll instead of saying you did this, I'll say, okay, so what'd you just do? And see if they
mm,
can identify their own error once they go back through it mentally.
yeah.
And this was when I mean, previously I was doing a lot of teaching with students in the clinical setting. And there's a mistake especially that in blood banking, every single person makes, and it's not a big, like it doesn't kill people, but it's really easy to just be like, oh, it's just a practice situation, so we're going to pretend it didn't happen. And I'm like, nope, yes, it is a practice situation, but it did happen, and now you get to start over. So I mean, it's always right before lunch. So it's like, okay, well, now now you have to wait another half an hour, 45 minutes kind of thing. But so anyway, back to your question. I'll say, okay, so tell me what you just did. And then I'll say, okay, so what does that mean for the patient? So I
Hmm.
let them come to their own conclusions about it. And then I'll be like, okay, so what led to that action, or how could you prevent that from happening next time? Because usually it's just they're overconfident because they're novices, so they're kind of at the I know everything stage.
Hmm.
And so they took some mental shortcuts that they're not ready to take, and um, uh, or they just need to slow down. So I let them come to their own conclusions and analyze their own behavior.
Yeah, I love that. And then, yeah, I mean, that is critical thinking, like in
Hmm.
a nutshell. They're looking at what they did and they're, oh, okay. She's asking me this because I did something. Where was the error? How do I fix that error? And then hopefully, how does that error not happen again in the future? So,
Right. Yeah. And
um,
then based on their level of upset, I can go like, this is the safe place to make it. That's why I let you do it. So,
okay, yeah, that's great. Okay, a little bit more, making them feel comfortable, even though that type of thing is an uncomfortable, it's an uncomfortable situation, even if you're in school and you're practicing and you get something wrong. We all know that. So
mhm.
I appreciate that you added that on at the end. Does anybody else have an example? Kelly, I see you got your hand up.
Um, yeah, in IT, let's say they're troubleshooting a security issue and they apply a technique to resolve that issue. Then we have to step back and look how that impacts the organization,
Mm,
not just that server or that user, but how does it impact everybody? So if a
mm,
server gets hit, you fix the server, you fix the account that got hit. Now let's step back and look at how that affects, everyone in that organization. And I think in IT, it's a little bit built in, I guess, where we teach where we let them make mistakes also, but they learn from it, and it's okay to make mistakes, and we tell them that right up front.
mhm.
But looking at the bigger picture,
Yeah. Seeing
absolutely.
how one thing leads to the other and how everything is, oh my God. Don, come on, man. I was
Yep.
flying last
Yep.
week with the CrowdStrike
There
thing.
you go. There you go. That's exactly what I was trying. I wasn't trying to use that term. I didn't want to bring the company up, but yes, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Bringing that one name up explains the snowball effect all over. So
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. So, um, okay, I think everyone understands the importance of critical thinking, but so how do we do it in our courses if we haven't done it already? If you're on this tab here, it talks a little bit more about it. Um, and then hopefully by reading this, maybe you can get some ideas about how to use it more in your courses. If it's not finalized, but we're trying to set something trying to set something up for in-service day to go a little bit more in detail about having some assignments, some AI assignments. Actually, this would be a good chance. I think we're talking about it next week at our AI Institute. So if y'all haven't heard the news about that, next Friday, 9 a.m., we're doing a AI Institute online. It's free. It's in Zoom, and if you haven't registered already, I'll put the link in the chat. We would love to see you there if you have a chance in the morning, Friday morning. But I believe somebody goes into creating an assignment, and and using AI as a way to help with the critical thinking. Like they'll put an assignment or they'll have ChatGPT write an essay, and then they'll look at that essay and then think about, is this essay good? Um, and so I can't remember exactly who is presenting on that, but I do remember seeing something like that. As far as PDUs, so this event, if I haven't said so already, is worth 8 professional development hours because there are, the way that it's set up, there are, let me show you what it looks like on this website. So we have our keynote next Friday at 9 a.m. for an hour. Then there are 3 different tracks. So we've got the AI newbies track, the ethics track, and the applications track. You choose which one you want. You can hop around also if you want. So there is 1, 2, 3 of those per day. So we're plus the keynote, that's 4 hours on the first day. And then it's just basically the same thing on the second day. We've got a keynote, and then we've got 3 more sessions. So we're clocking it at 8 hours. If you want to join that, and then for submitting, as you go through the event, you'll get badges, and then however many badges you get, you can submit that to the PDU tracking course. So, and since I'm talking about this as well, if you all need help with this PDU tracking course, I recommend Monday at 1 p.m. We're going to hold a little information session. And if anybody has any questions, that would be a good time to bring them up if you have a chance. Oh, yeah. So I know some people will have class at that time. And if you need individual support, just let me know. Okay, so let's get back to our topic this week. So, okay, I'm just going to go over this one real quick about the critical thinking. Critical thinking, building a strong foundation. These are the different sections from it. Remembering, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Snow, we talked about that last week in this meeting, so I'm not going to go into why there are different ones, but these are from the course-wide learning outcomes. Information overload. Obviously, these days, we're getting a lot of information from every angle, and a lot of it is political, as there's a huge election coming up. So critical thinking helps students and humans in general distinguish valuable information from noise and misinformation. AI is making it more difficult because as time goes on, AI is getting more and more, the responses look more human, and it's a little bit, it's hard to differentiate what's real and what's not. Related to AI, there's still a lot of ethical considerations that we have to think about. And that relates to critical thinking because we have to decide whether it's worth it to use these tools. And the responses that we are getting from the tools, where are they getting that information from? How is it being trained? What kind of bias does that app or website bring? Now, I mean, it's debatable. It's like, it's trained on the internet and everything that's on the internet, and it's kind of like that middle ground. Like it's taking from everything, and so it's kind of creating this median. But still, there are chances for bias to come through. And if anybody wants to know about that, type in the Google image generation fiasco. I don't know, type in something like that into Google, and you can see what they tried to go the other way with it, and it became a big mess. But that's not for this class to talk about. Problem solving in complex environments. So critical thinking to recognize problems. This is a lot of AI focused. I think the AI that made this was very AI happy. So um, innovative problem solving, unforeseen challenges, uh, ensuring stability. And technological change, that's something that we're going through right now. The AI is a huge shift. And misinformation and bias, we talked about a little bit already. And then critical thinking as a way to enhance collaboration and communication. We can think more carefully about what we're saying, and then that will in turn help us to interact with other people in a more productive manner, if I were to add my 2 cents on that one. So, all right, that is that part. This week's alignment, if you want to check that one, obviously critical thinking. We're analyzing it, and it's a B2 for the skill standards because we're creating, evaluating, and modifying curriculum. That's going to be the main focus of this week, is looking at course material. And then our course learning outcome for this section is going to be relevant and inclusive course materials. So let's move on, unless anybody has anything that they want to say about that. All right. So let's go over our standard, our main thing that we need to do for this week. And if I look here, it says relevant and inclusive course materials, standard 1.2. Fostering inclusion in higher education. So we'll go over this one in a minute. I just want to go over all these tabs for you, just so that we know where we're going. So we've got our introduction here. Our assignment is a 500-ish word self-reflection. Here are some questions that you can think about. So some examples here. How do your current course materials represent diverse identities? How might representation in your course materials affect students' sense of belonging and motivation? Okay, so we'll look at those in a minute. There's an examples page if y'all are stuck and don't know how to answer the question. Maybe you know what the answer is, but you don't know how to answer it. There's some examples there. One more time with the alignment. And then there is a lot of reading here. This is all the evidence that is supporting what we're talking about. So if I head back over to the introduction, so this basically goes over what the standard is about the relevant and inclusive course materials. I'm not going to read all this. I'll let y'all read it on your own. But basically here, I'll just read this first sentence. The purpose of the standard is to encourage you to reflect on how the selection of representative course materials and the proactive mitigation of bias and stereotypes in your discipline benefit student learning. Okay, so there's a video here as well. It's not a required viewing, but I think it's just a presentation from someone and a discussion. So if you you're driving along and you're looking for something interesting to listen to, and you've heard this word bias many times and you're not exactly sure what it means, then this might be a good one to watch. I'm going to cover this section down here, but first I want to read this story so that y'all can see how this might affect a student in your course. Okay. So sit back and listen to this one. It's partway through the quarter, and Yongning is thumbing through their biology textbook and clicking around on various content items in the course and begins to notice a reoccurring problem. The majority of the biologists depicted in the course materials are white men. It's concerning and disheartening to Yongning that the selected textbook and other course materials do not accurately reflect the diversity that exists in the world. Yongning also notices that the few indigenous and people of color that are shown in the textbook are shown only in positions of minimal power like lab techs or lab assistants. This realization sparks a sense of discomfort, making Yongning worry, what are the scientists that look like me? Sorry, where are the scientists that look like me? And Yongning begins to think that maybe pursuing a career in biology might not be the right choice. Y'all see what's happening? Looking, oh, I don't see anybody that looks like me. Maybe that I'm in the wrong place. Thinking back to the syllabus and topics covered today, Yongning can't recall any places where the instructor addressed or engaged the class in discussing the issues of bias, stereotypes, and underrepresentation within the course or the field of biology. This oversight leaves Yongning feeling concerned and wondering about the reasons behind the instructor's silence about acknowledging the lack of diversity and potential stereotypes within the field. Is it because the instructor doesn't care or isn't aware of the importance of selecting course materials that are inclusive with positive representations to reduce bias and stereotypes? Or perhaps it's because these issues are uncomfortable to confront. Initial thoughts? Does anybody have do you think you have a student that can relate to what Yongning is thinking? Have you ever thought about this?
I don't have a student that I think felt like this, but I can say that this is definitely a problem in the sciences. Scientists generally, uh, historically, were old white men, um, and yeah, the tide is changing, um, and there's a lot of diversity in science now, in terms of and representation from different races and whatnot. But in terms of representation in textbooks, uh, that's hard to say because it's not, at least in the textbooks I use, it's not very common that a person's picture is put in there unless it was, someone that did something really big, like, discovered pieces of the atom or something like that. But even still, the people that did that were white men. So, um, hopefully, as time moves forward, and new scientific discoveries are made, the representation will come out in the textbooks.
Or yeah, it's kind of tough because who knows what were the contributions in the past. Yeah, I feel like I've seen stories where everybody thought this person was the main person for this, but you look at somebody else that came up with the idea, but then that idea got stolen away for whatever reason. So
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. And sadly, I don't remember the woman's name, but for the structure of DNA, most people attribute it to Francis and Crick. and I saw, I think it was on like a documentary, or I read somewhere that I think yeah, Rosalind Franklin contributed, you know, basically did a science that allowed Francis and Crick to um, come up with their structure of DNA, and but most people do not remember her, myself included. I could not recall her name, but
Well, there it is.
yeah.
Rosalind Franklin. Let's say the name so it gets out there. Central to the understanding of molecular structures of DNA. So nice. Thank you. Thank you for talking about that, Derek, and then also thank you, Tracy, for putting that one into the chat for us. I found an image that I saw before of this little kid, and it says, "Check Kenzo out in the new Disney movie Encanto." With the hashtag representation matters. Thank you, Disney. Look how happy this little kid looks. This looks the same. Um, so this is what we're talking about with representation. Now, I know it's tough. We have textbooks that we use, and unless we're creating the OER, the Open Education Resources, it's tough to change that. But at the same time, if you see something like that, talking about it, um, if you look down here where this is from Yong Ning's perspective, but he begins to think maybe, no, not that part. Instructor, is it because the instructor doesn't care or isn't aware? So this could be what they're thinking about you. Oh, I'm seeing a bunch of uh, old white men sciences. Maybe this isn't for me. And then they have to rethink if this is if it's a career that's going to work for them. So let's look very quickly here at this list of different things that we can think about. These are the ways that we can foster the community and sense of belonging through the course materials. First one here, include representative and relevant content. Same as what we just talked about. Identify, reflect on, and acknowledge your bias. That's what we're going to be doing with this self-reflection and all the self-reflection questions. Oh, here we go. I got caught up in the chat. Kelly's telling us about the Jerry Lawson. Who's this guy? Very nice. This guy, leader in.
He helped develop the first video game console with interchangeable cartridges. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, like pretty much how we play and buy video games these days. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, Cat.
very awesome.
He founded VideoSoft, a video game development company that made software for the Atari 2600. Pretty cool stuff. They're all
Yeah.
computers.
Yeah, we like that. We like that. Okay, so let's see here. Reflecting on okay, we talked about that. Identify and acknowledge any bias within your curriculum. So as you're going through, and hopefully you've kind of in that mood where you're trying to recognize what people are thinking, why they're thinking it, where did they get that view from, and then share it with the students. And how it impacts your teaching and course design. Obviously, maybe do a lot of thinking and think about what you're going to say. You don't want to just come out and, I don't like that this book doesn't have this, and then you have to, be prepared for a conversation if it's going to ensue afterwards. Identify and acknowledge any bias within the discipline or profession. So I think I said this up top. Something like, oh, if you're gonna be a welder, you have to be, like a strong man to handle picking up all the metal and all dangerous task, right? There might be some bias that you might have going in, but then you step on over to the welding building and you see Amelia out there teaching everybody how to do the welding. So highlighting BIPOC scholars. So making, saying the name of the people that are doing these things. We just had the example of Jerry Lawson. And then engage students in the topics of bias, stereotypes, and misrepresentation. So giving students a chance to talk about it and have a discussion if there's time and and you feel like there's a need for them to do that in your class. So we'll look at some examples in next week. So for week 5, we'll look at a couple of different examples. But for today, I want to go ahead and get going on this assignment. So before we do this, is there anything anybody else wants to talk about related to bias or representation? If nobody's saying anything, I'm going to put some questions in the chat so that they're there. And then I want to talk about them. So if you all want to get started on these, like to write them down, that's fine. If you want to talk about them, we can talk about them. If you get to a question and you're working on it on your own and you want to talk about it and nobody else is talking, then feel free. There it is. 10 questions. If my math is correct, then it would be about 50 words per question. You're trying to hit that 500 word target.
That's a tough one. How do you gather feedback from students regarding the inclusivity of your course materials?
Which one? Is it the last one I just chose?
Second to last one. How do you use this feedback to make improvements? I know it's collected. Do you think it's, there's a question in the questionnaire in the class survey that is stated something like that, but I haven't seen the class survey results for a while.
Is this the one that's given by the school, or is this one that you create for your own course?
No, the school.
The settle. Thank you.
Yep.
I haven't gotten too much into the settle since I've been here. Do faculty get a chance to look at the settle results?
I haven't seen it for at least 4 quarters.
Because you weren't allowed to see it, or
well, we were used to send a link once it was done. A couple of days after the quarter ended, we could see the reports and go through them, but we haven't received that lately. And I think it might be because not every class is issued the settle. They're now picking and choosing different classes.
Yeah, I did just get one last quarter. Like a couple days after the end of the quarter, I got results from a survey.
Okay. So maybe that's why, Kat, you haven't seen one, because I don't think they've done our classes for a couple quarters now. But we're on the chopping block this quarter.
Oh, no, I know that the students got it.
Oh, okay.
They told me they did, but maybe I don't know. I haven't seen it for a while, like the results.
I'm not sure exactly the process here. At the other university I worked at, it would be sent out to everyone, and then you would be able to check it yourself. Like there was a part of some website, the LMS we were using, And you could check it like I checked it daily to see like, you know, how it went up and went down. But um I don't I don't know. Have you reached out to the people who
What
give it?
I don't know the people. I don't know if it's like a
Who knows the
Canvas thing
people? We
that
got we
gets
got a bunch of people in here. Do we know the setup people?
like I don't know who it used to be Cindy that would actually I think process them, I thought. Um or send back the results, but I don't know what the process is after it's taken
Okay.
or who gets those results, or even if they're aware that we're not getting them. But if somebody's getting them,
I think the results go to Snowy, and it sounds
okay.
like Tracy said she got a report. I'm on the actual assessment committee. Um, questions come up before, but we haven't had a good answer yet. So
Um, I think, let's see here. So for this question, maybe you could just talk about that situation. But in terms of surveys, I know everyone hates them, so I wouldn't take what I'm saying. Well, that's my bias. My bias is everybody hates surveys. I mean, you might love surveys. There might be people who love them. So let me not stereotype uh, humans in general, but I don't like taking surveys. Um, but has anybody in here ever given a survey, not the official settle one? Like, does anybody give surveys at the beginning and end, like to see kind of where the students are at and where they're at before and where they're at after?
I don't do a survey, but at the end of the quarter, I have them write like a self-reflection. And I asked them what was their favorite part of the quarter. What was the top three things that they learned?
Mm,
And what is there anything that I could do as an instructor in the future that would help future students?
I love that
And
one.
yeah, and I just started that, I think, last quarter.
How were the results?
Really good, really positive.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear that.
very helpful.
Um, all right. So, uh, this happens to me every time. Hold on. I got something for y'all. I just need to change my background. If y'all need you know, for credit for being here. See that?
is that first letter a capital?
No, all small.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go into our questions now. And what I'll just do, I'll just go ahead and ask a question to the group. If you have something to share, feel free to share it. If you don't have anything to share, that's okay too. And if it's something that's private and you don't want to talk about it with this group, that's okay too. So I'll say, you know, a good way here if you're gonna want it, if you're gonna do these reflection questions, if you just select all of these, copy them into a like a Microsoft Word or notebook, or I don't know, some people are on a Mac, but what does Mac do? It's the word processor in the Mac. Toss them in there, and then you can start answering them yourself. So how do your current course materials? Let's ask this first one for anybody that wants to take it. How do your current course materials represent diverse identities? Something
I'll
that
say
I always,
something.
yeah, go ahead, Jaya.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I know that I need to like pay attention to this. However, for me, I am just always looking for the like the best representation of information that I can get them. And it often, it's very diverse when I am selecting information for the class. But I would have to say that I probably haven't made and I've made a conscious decision, I guess, with regard to photographs and, representations in my slides. So I have done that. But, I'm not looking for a specific resource. I'm just looking for the information to be
Oh, okay.
top of the line. I think that's
Yeah.
what my response is. But I can see,
I think the information being of the best caliber is maybe most important. Um, so I think you're right to focus on that. Um, but yeah, it's so when you're searching for the images, how do you usually search for them?
well, I'm lazy, so I usually just go to Google Images, and Google Images includes diversity in their imagery. Or I look through, beyond the first images that I'm given,
Mhm.
But I do, I think Google does okay. Now, so usually what I look for is like, if you look at like clip art even, I mean, not that I only use clip art, but sometimes I will try to find things, and there's a lot. I also have this company that I downloaded African American or Black graphics for class use. It came through like maybe a couple years ago or something, but I have that file also.
Mm.
So what are you writing?
I'm trying to see. I just want to see if this 4.0 mini can make images. Oh, it can't. Never mind. You have to have the more.
Doesn't really do the images,
It doesn't do good.
the chat.
No, it does it in the what is that? More updated version? Hold on.
Well, I mean, I have that, so I haven't seen it.
Here we go. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Did somebody else have a hand? I feel like it's tough when you teach processes and procedure. I think it would apply more to the work environment. But
Okay, here's
you
my
could have I know what you're saying, Kelly, but if if you have an image of anytime you have an image of humans doing something, I know, maybe in your field there's not a lot of imagery of humans doing things, but maybe it's missing a human element. So I mean, mostly
yeah.
it's
Just
not too bad.
Well, I mean, there's your basic, attractive, long-haired interior
Mm,
designer, white woman,
hmm.
which, by the way, I don't really relate to that image either. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that
Well, I
re
thought she had a nice tan.
well, okay, that's not, but see, you're falling for the
Oh,
propaganda.
maybe I'm just looking. Okay, so let's see, like
American male.
a group, a group of interior designers. How about that? Interior designers.
We're
Um,
teams. We're a team
a,
of interior
a
designers.
team. A
Yeah.
group, yeah, a group is team. What I'm showing y'all right now is that if you have a chance, if you have the now, yeah, see, like this,
Right. Bias for
I
sure.
feel like we're missing.
How
Oh,
about a diverse team?
right.
Here we go. So Don, Don over here,
Thanks, Don.
giving away the secret code here. Okay. And maybe really diverse.
By the way, that's a lot of interior designers.
You make it.
The
I'm gonna
group.
try to make it photorealistic because I should have changed the team. Sorry.
To what?
A team of diverse.
Oh, right. Don't worry about it.
That was my chance. Um, okay. Well, that makes that. We'll pose this next question to the group here, if anybody wants to talk about it. How might the representation or lack thereof in your course materials affects the student's sense of belonging and motivation? This one I feel like anybody can answer. Take the empathetic view of your students from your students' perspective.
I mean, if you can't see yourself in the material, like as in my case, a scientist, you know, then it's, yeah, I just think that, yeah, it provides motivation if you see other people that look like you or are from the same, you know, identifying group as you to, um, yeah, to be able to see yourself doing that type of work.
Yes. So kind of what we were talking about earlier with Yongning and I showed you all that picture of the kid in front of the TV. Can you create a photorealistic image? Let's see. Let's see Dolly's capabilities of doing photorealistic. A group of diverse scientists working in a lab. Jaya, go ahead. I see your hand.
Yeah, I think I got distracted when you were talking about scientists. What was I gonna say? Let me think. Oh, well, I mean, there's so many levels of that. I mean, what about 40 under 40? I haven't seen myself in my professional world for, let's see, almost 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So it all kind of plays into the same thing that we're talking about. It's just the focus on certain characteristics that seem preferable or not, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Or
all right, look at those people,
let's see.
see those scientists.
Still can't do photorealistic. They're just putting in so many people, and then what is this thing in the middle? That's scary.
It looks like an experiment went wrong.
I was literally just about to say that, Kelly. Get out of my brain.
I think it's an alien hybrid.
It's an AI project.
I think it's interesting that you're asking it to make a diverse group, and so now we're getting different hair colors and skin colors, but they're still all young and thin.
Oh,
There you go.
see?
Yeah, I
That's
was
that's
gonna say the
good.
same thing.
Chat
The-
GBT's biased.
that's what this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. We're using critical thinking now and seeing like something is amiss here, right?
And why aren't they wearing gloves?
And hairnets.
They're just out there.
Open AI for the win.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
How would you then? How would we get?
That's why the weird looking one, had a weird looking face. She wasn't wearing safety glasses. Got splashed in the face with acid.
See, I like that you're keeping it in the
What?
story.
What
Okay.
about the guy? What about the guy in the window?
Why is everyone so thin and young? Let's check. Let's see if it can
That
take
one is
what I'm
thin and maybe old.
This story may not fully capture the diversity in body types and ages. Let's create another image that includes scientists of various body types and age groups.
and it's the same image.
From a different angle.
Yeah, right. We'll just move it over a little bit and then hopefully they won't notice.
Mhm.
I got rid
Wow.
of the crazy one. Okay. So
What's
this
that?
image generation isn't there yet. I would say maybe, I don't know, maybe because we're asking for like a big group, you might be able to like really, if you get in there and get super specific with your prompt, but I don't know, this ChatGPT, I think just isn't there yet. I feel like I could get better image examples with Midjourney, and I'd be willing to do
Yeah.
that with people if
Yeah.
anybody wants to stick around after. But um, let's keep moving on. Actually, you know what? Let's start wrapping up because it's already 1:56, and I don't want to go overtime like I usually do. So this is the assignment, everyone. So I I don't know how y'all are going to do this, but I think that I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all say here. Like I said, there's some examples here. If you want to get some ideas of what you can put. Once you're done, just go ahead and do what you've been doing and submit it as the assignment, and then I will check it when I check it. So, are there any questions before we end our time together here today?
Yeah, I won't take all the rest of the time, and if anybody wants to go, feel free. But I wanted to point that out. What Kelly said, basically the processes, the procedures, the pictures, the imagery, and everything that's in the classroom. It more actually you can teach and make it the diverse in the classroom, but when they go out in industry and it's not that, then what? We're not
Oh,
addressing it there. Does that make sense?
if it's not super diverse when you get out into the
Yeah. Yeah, you're creating a fake sense of reality when that's not the picture currently in the industry for some industries.
And that's
How
Well,
about having that conversation? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm NDT, non-destructive inspection, is like heavily white male dominated. So you're going to create that kind of false illusion that, hey, when you're, especially, it might not to the white students, they don't really think about it, but it can be kind of disillusional to the students of color. They're getting out thinking they're getting into this really diverse, sector of the industry and finding that, So yeah, you're kind of spot on with that, Kathy.
Thank you.
And that's a really great point that maybe doesn't get brought up that much in this kind of in this training, in this focus. But what about having that conversation with them? I mean, I know it's not it's not part of your curriculum, and it's you got time and everything is time based.
I mean, that's sort of the approach that I try to take. We'll talk about, and my students know that I I rarely ask them about a name or a date, because that's much more ancillary. Like the person who made a scientific discovery is much more ancillary compared to what that means, right? But that being said, like I'll still mention the name in the lecture, and then usually point out, okay, towards the end of the lecture, particularly for like going through the discovery of the different pieces, different parts of the atom and whatnot. Hey, like the people that made these discoveries, or at least that are credited, are like white men, and then just have a very quick like, this is a problem in the sciences historically, but the tide is changing.
Okay.
And, all of us are part of that, adding diversity to the sciences.
Nice. Let's continue this. I just see people hopping off because it's 2. Let's continue this next week because this is a 2-week thing. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this with y'all. Thank y'all for coming.
It's interesting. Yes.
And have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Come to the AI Institute.
Thanks, everybody.
If you can.
Thanks, Ronald. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Right.